I'll actually talk about the way we actually track our marketing. We do this weekly report, and I'll talk a little bit about attribution, which isn't the sexiest topic, but I think extremely important, and also the reason why I think a lot of stores struggle to scale, to really maximize their marketing spend, because it is tricky if you have multiple channels to really understand where the conversion value is coming from. What you see here is actually, again, this store that I showed you, the first store, where what we do on a weekly basis is we literally write down every single, so this is a screenshot from an Excel, but we write down every single every single channel and platform where we spent marketing dollars to advertise our products. And we literally put the cost, the conversion value, and the ROAS, right? So just the return on ad spend for every single of those platforms. And we do this week by week, right? And every week we can essentially track exactly what's going on, right? So this isn't perfect, but it gives you an idea, right? So for this, and again, we're not running, so like this is a random week from 1st to 7th of July. So, that, and let me actually pull up, this is this store. Let me pull up, I'll just pull up July. So you can see in July, we made slightly above 200,000. Obviously, yeah, this week was, let me actually just zoom into the first week. So that was definitely a good week. And so for that week, we made around 90K in revenue. And on Shopify, you obviously just see the total revenue, right? And what obviously Shopify doesn't tell you, and they're still actually, unfortunately, pretty bad at telling you the exact split in terms of the marketing channels, right? Like there's a marketing channel report for Shopify, but it's not very accurate because they have a hard time splitting between organic and paid and things like Klaviyo and TikTok and Snapchat and etc. But what we essentially do, right, is run Facebook, Google ads. Then Klaviyo is our email, is just the email platform that we use. So that's email. And obviously we have TikTok and Snapchat, which this week we were not running for the store, therefore they're empty. Organic, which is again posting organically on all the channels. So this is also a bit of a kind of umbrella section. Then we have affiliate. We have our affiliate channel. Then we have our influencers, and then we have other. And again, with other, and again, depending on what we're doing with a given store, we'll obviously expand this, right? The point is, in one table, we can track all of our marketing channels, compare the split, right? So here you can see kind of the revenue split coming from different channels and the different ROAS, right? Now, actually, some of those numbers are not fully up to date. Like here, there should be a number. Anyway, there is also a cost associated to affiliate because we pay them commissions. So it's not high, but there should definitely be a cost here. So that's a mistake on our side. In any case, what we then do, and I think that's where things kind of get interesting in terms of attribution, is we have the Shopify revenue here, right? The 93,000, as you saw. Here it's 92, so I'm not quite sure what the difference is. Maybe the dates are slightly off. But in any case, we have the Shopify revenue. Then we have the Google Analytics revenue. Google Analytics, obviously, if you go to, is like for this store, so this is from July to August. Anyway, if you go to acquisition, or again, Google, I'm sure you guys are familiar with Google Analytics. If not, then they'll tell you, for example, here the revenue, and also the split in terms of channels. But you see, and again, there's many different ways to kind of organize your Google Analytics to be more accurate, but still it doesn't do a good job in terms of really telling you exactly where the channels, where the sources are coming from, unless you're like very on point with your UTMs. And that's quite a pain in the ass, to be honest. But like you can see here with us even setting up a lot of the stuff up initially and having like all, we have like the whole e-commerce, how's it called again? Like we have the special e-commerce conversion settings and all of that stuff. You can see that here 55% is just from other, right? Which isn't very helpful. In any case, we just take the conversion value from our Google Analytics as a comparison, right? And then we take the conversion value from all the individual sources. So we literally go into our Facebook Business Manager, we check our conversion value, we put it here. We go to our Google Account Manager, we take the conversion value from there, and then we add up all of them. And what you see, right, is an interesting discrepancy, right, which is very common for most stores, which is that the Shopify revenue we're making, like our real revenue, is different from the sum of the conversion value from all the different marketing channels for the exact same time period, right? If we would just trust what Facebook and Google and Klaviyo are telling us, right, in terms of how much they believe we are getting in conversion value, right, we should have actually made over 100,000 in revenue, but in reality we only made 93,000, right? So that's the difference of minus 9%, a difference in almost 9K. Why is there this difference, and why does this difference fluctuate? So I'm going to show you a few other examples of why this fluctuates, and I think it's important to understand, right? It is because of attribution, right? And there's a few classic examples. One classic example is that a conversion overlaps between two or more channels. So for example, you run a TikTok ad of your product. Someone sees your TikTok ad, they think it's interesting, but they're kind of suspicious. So they Google the name of your store on Google, then your Google search, your brand search ad hopefully pops up because you have a brand search ad on Google Ads if someone types in your store name. They press on that, then they go on your website, they check out your product page, but then I don't know, they add to cart, but then they drop off. They don't actually buy. But because they added to cart and they already completed the first part of the checkout, you have their email, right? So a week later or a couple days later, whatever, you send them an email campaign, and then they finally convert, right? And then the question is, okay, so where does the conversion actually belong to? Like, did TikTok create the conversion? Did the Google ad, the Google brand search ad create the conversion, or did the email campaign create the conversion, right? And depending on the window of when this conversion happens, two or more of those channels might actually take the credit themselves, and Google might say, no, this is fully our conversion. TikTok might say this is our conversion, right? And Klaviyo might as well, or sometimes not, right? So there are a lot of issues that come from that, right? And that's why you kind of have an overlap where you can see that essentially some of the ROAS figures here are inflated, right? So apparently on Facebook, we made a 2.49 ROAS that week, on Google a 3.59, on Klaviyo 107, and email is obviously always high ROAS because you're already sending emails to people who've bought. So it's a remarketing thing, and you should always expect your email. And again, email is also for free, essentially not for free. We have a cost of obviously paying Klaviyo the subscription, so we include the subscription costs here, all the stuff. But the point is, those ROAS figures are inflated, and you have to be careful, right? Especially if you're kind of on edge in terms of break-even ROAS, right? On across all of your marketing channels, you need to be careful not to spend too much because you might actually be unprofitable because of this attribution issue, right? And I think this is a very common issue that people, spend a lot of money thinking that they're profitable with like a 2.5 ROAS because their break even is a 2.4, but in reality they're actually making a 2.3, and then they're unprofitable. And if you don't track it week to week, you might actually miss those nuances, and those are small nuances. You can then see we also cross-check. So the whole point here is we triangulate through as many sources as possible, right? And there's actually even other sources. You can really also work aggressively with UTMs. It is a pain. This is kind of like the fast. This honestly doesn't take too long if you kind of set this up, where you take the revenue from Shopify. This is like the real revenue you made. You then check Google Analytics, which obviously has also its way of tracking your sales as much as possible. And then you go through every single channel and you triangulate. Do they match? If not, where is the gap? And you adjust based on that gap, which is very important to do. We also use Lifetimely to track our profitability, separate video on that. But here you can just see a summary of our blended CAC and our blended ROAS, right? So again, this store, we actually spend something like, that week we spent $60 per acquiring each customer, right? This sounds like a lot, but for this store, average order value is $180, right? So that's what explains the 3.3 ROAS, right, for that week. And again, the 3.6 for, those dates are slightly off, but anyway, you get the point. Because of the AOV, we are actually, if we're below a 60 cost per acquisition, then we're in good shape. And this is really what I want to bring your attention to, is like this attribution issue at the very stage, because I think it's important to track and to understand that. And I think that's actually, by actually tracking this consistently, we're able to kind of be much more conscious of where we should be aggressive and where not, right? And obviously what you see here is like there's a lot of missing line items here, which means we're actually not diversified enough, right? For this store, we did do TikTok, and we are doing TikTok now. So we're now also focusing a lot on organic and TikTok. We're not doing Snapchat actually. We've definitely also run some influencers, and we're doing that now as well. And we're exploring with many other channels as well. And obviously, you would be in the strongest possible position if you had this entire table filled up with, I don't know, like 7 or 8 different channels with a very nice distributed split, where no matter what happens, if again your Facebook business manager gets shut down, worst case tomorrow, you still have 6 other channels that you can rely on. And that's obviously what I think you should aim for. Now, another store, and this store I didn't even show in this video, but I'll definitely use it for other examples and other videos, is a store that's much, much smaller. So this week it only made actually 5K. I mean, so like literally it's another small store that we have. But why I chose to also show you the attribution here is that here the ROAS is actually more than 40% different, right? So our essentially marketing channels show us that we made a 6.8 ROAS, whereas in reality we almost made a 12 ROAS. And this store is a bit of a unique one because you can see that the volumes are slow, but our ROAS is extremely high, right? So also again, cross-checking with Lifetimely, we're literally making some weeks a 14 ROAS, and that's because we have a lot of customers that come back. So our returning customer rate is extremely high, and we also have a lot of organic sales, which actually we don't track here because we can't even track them, but we just have organic sales, which ultimately help us, just drive Google traffic into some of our, also, to be honest, into some of our brand search campaigns at extremely cheap costs, inflating this ROAS quite a bit. But you can see that sometimes sometimes you have only a minus 9% difference, and sometimes you actually have a 40% difference. Hey, before you bounce, consider subscribing to our channel, but only if you've actually enjoyed the video and found at least a few valuable things for your Shopify store. Also check out our free Shopify app, Trackidex. We have a link in the description below. We're developing new features literally every day, and we're also excited to actually hear your feedback on some of the next features we should develop. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.